Hi, my name is Leandro Facchinetti, and let's write some code together, shall we? What we are doing today is, I don't even know which part it is, it's probably like part 7 of this thing in which I am maintaining and adding functionality to a Node.js package that I'm working on. It's called caxa, and it packages your Node.js application into a single executable binary to simplify deployment and distribution for things like web servers, command line applications, and so forth. And specifically, the thing that I have been doing last week and this week is support for ARM architectures, and specifically for Linux ARM, but also for macOS. And yesterday, I was joined by David, who is here today.
Hello, happy to help. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you here again. And you didn't know if you could, but seems like you can be here today, so I'm delighted to have you. So, do you want to jump right in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is where we left off yesterday, and we have already all the stubs we need. They are already compiled. They are in the GitHub action, in the GitHub release, and we have compiled the stub for all the different architectures. And the stub is, for people who are just joining us now, the stub is just this binary that you need to kick off the process of compiling Node.js into an executable binary. So we need this binary that is just a very shallow thing that unpacks your project into a temporary directory and calls Node from there. A very lightweight wrapper around your application, and it is a native binary that kicks off the process of running your application. So it has to be compiled to your specific architecture. And it is written in Go, and it has been compiled to all 7 platforms that we care about. So Windows, macOS, both for Intel and M1 processors, Linux for Intel 64 bits, and then ARM 6, 7, and 8, and I think that I'm missing one because I think we have 7 in total. But yeah, so we already did the work of compiling all this, and it's all in the GitHub release. So anytime we push a new version of caxa, all those stubs are compiled and put there. But from the npm packages perspective, we need to download the right stub for your platform. So the npm package now doesn't contain the stub anymore, and we need to find the right one for our architecture and download it. And that's what we did yesterday. We wrote this JavaScript program. We don't know exactly how we're going to use it, but it's a program that when you call it, it will get the right stub for your architecture and put it in the right place. And Felipe says, hello. Hi, Felipe. It's nice to have you here from the start. And yeah, Felipe has been around last week when we were doing this stub compilation stuff. And now he's back here for the other part, which is this JavaScript program. So let's go over what we have, because I have a few ideas. Since we stopped streaming yesterday, I thought, I think that this may be a problem and that may be a problem. So let's start with the stub name. The problem here is, I don't know one of the problems is, for instance, in macOS with the ARM processors, the new M1 processors, I don't know what this returns. It may return a number, but the stub name that we are generating doesn't take that in account. The ARM version is we should only look at the ARM version if the architecture is ARM and if the platform is Linux, because those are the only stubs we have. We only have these stubs with the ARM version if we are looking at Linux ARM. Here, I'll show you this because I think it's getting too abstract. So let me go to GitHub, liafac caxa.
Makes sense.
Oh,
yeah, I was wondering about that, about ARM version. Like, does ARM version make sense in all architectures?
Well, yeah, I put the username wrong here. So ARM version doesn't make sense in our architectures, for instance, Intel or even Windows. But we are taking out if ARM version is undefined. So that's okay. But what if we are in an ARM processor, but we should not look at the ARM version? So I can show you an example here in the GitHub release that we use to test the build. And we have stub -- platform that is fixed. That doesn't change.
Yeah.
Then we have -- and architecture. That doesn't change either. But we only look at the ARM version if you are on Linux ARM.
Okay.
So this number -- and -- that's the ARM version.
Got it.
So maybe the ARM version is not returned if you are in macOS. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
And I can test this because I have a Mac with an M1 processor right in front of me. But I think it would be more intention revealing and robust if we don't look at this variable if we are not in Linux ARM.
Got it. Yeah. Wait, so it couldn't have an ARM version if we're in macOS?
It could. I don't know. I mean, I can test this real quick. So let me see. I have to.
But we won't build stubs.
We don't have. We have stubs for Darwin ARM.
Yeah.
But the name is not stub Darwin ARM -- ARM version.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why don't we have different versions? Just because there aren't any right now.
Yeah. The only version of Darwin is the only versions are Intel 64 and ARM 64. ARM 6 and ARM 7 are they are older, but also they are simpler versions of ARM. For one thing, they are both 32 bits.
Oh, right. Okay. And actually, we found out they're the same, didn't we?
Yeah, we actually found that these stubs are the same, which is something that we should look into because maybe there is a mistake here in the build process. I don't think there is one because Matt was super diligent about this.
Do we even need the ARM version for Linux in that case?
You mean we
Just
could just
remove it
have one instead of having two here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's look at what the build does. The build is not this part. So let's go to the build. And here we are using architecture ARM 6, ARM 7, but we are using different Docker platforms and we are using different images. You can see that they are not the same. So we are, in fact, in, for instance, a Raspberry Pi 1 versus a Raspberry Pi, I want to say 3. So we are in different platforms. We really are compiling in different scenarios. It just happens to be that the Go compiler will produce the same binary, but I don't think that is going to be true forever. And also, I think it's, again, more intention revealing if we have different binaries here, even if they turn out to be the same.
So with V6, V7, and V8, these are different architectures in the sense, like they produce different assembly.
Supposedly, yeah.
And then is Go going to change that, though? Like, is that... Why would that ever change in the future? Or like, is that they seem to be older architectures, right? Well, they're for 32-bit, but they're like a specific version. Like, is it actually going to be? Is this going to change basically? If they're the same now, won't they always be the same?
I don't think that the architecture will change, but the Go compiler may produce different binaries for the different architectures.
Right.
Moving forward, I mean,
Yeah.
Go is going through a major change now. They are introducing features that have been requested for a long time, like generics. And I don't know much about Go in general, and I especially don't know anything about the Go internals architecture. But I must believe that a major change like that will have some impact on the binaries. So,
But we would have to update the Go compiler at that point, which would just keep up to date.
Yes. And that would only make sense really if we start using newer Go features. But in any case, I want to future-proof us and also to make things more correct in the sense that we are actually doing this for ARM 7, even though it will be the same as for ARM 6. And Philippe is asking, what about ARM 64 for Linux, which is another good use case here. So ARM 64, when we have ARM 64, we don't have the ARM version here in the stub name. So in that case, we don't want to append the version here. Okay, I was testing the what is it called? Let's go back here. I was testing on my Mac with the M1 processor. What happens on this variables ARM version thing, just out of curiosity. And I cannot put that on the stream because I don't have a scene with that, but let's see. Yeah.
Can't you do it in VS Code?
Huh? Sorry?
Can't you do it in the terminal of VS Code?
Oh, it's a different machine. I could SSH into the other machine, but I just did the test, and ARM version is undefined on a Mac with the M1 processor, and it is probably undefined with ARM64 on Linux, but I'm not willing to bet the correctness of this script on that. So how about we do something like this? Const stub parts that starts with just the stub, the platform, and the architecture. And if the stub parts includes Linux and the stub parts includes ARM, then the stub parts push ARM version. And now we can say that the stub name is just the stub parts join.
Makes sense.
So now we are guaranteeing that we are only looking at the ARM version if we are on Linux ARM. And everything else should remain the same from this point onward. I kind of remember thinking about something else that may be wrong, but now it escapes me. So I guess we'll just continue.
I looked at this at the download package, and like they specifically provide, like, part of the utility of the download package is that as a second argument you can provide the file path that you want to download it into, and I feel like you may as well do that.
Destination.
It's like it's exactly what we're doing, and it would just like, yeah.
But you know what's the funniest part? We copied that line from the download package documentation.
Yeah, and we deleted it.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like there were several examples, and the first example was exactly this. So yeah, now we don't need to import FS, I don't think, anymore. Don't think we're using it anywhere else. Might still be useful, but...
Here it is. Oh, hang on. Is this a directory? Or is this a file name? I mean, it is...
I would imagine it's a, like...
What I'm going to do is just test it. I think that's the most reliable way of figuring it out. So the script name is David.
What's it going to be called if you don't... I guess, yeah.
Stubs parts is not defined. So I guess I have a typo somewhere here.
Yeah, you got stubs parts rather than stub.
There you go. Okay. And illegal operation on a directory, read. So I think that this should be a directory, and probably that is their name. Oh, but then the file path will be wrong. The file name will be wrong. We want this file name.
Yeah, I mean, is that not an option as well to provide the file name? It's a bit strange.
Let's see. Returns both a promise, additional events, destination, path to where your file will be written, but I think that is a directory where your file will be written, not a path.
Yeah, makes sense. File name.
File name to be saved. Okay, so we pass this as a third parameter, and we call it stub. And then the stub path will also be used here. So...
Oh, we do still need it.
Yeah, I think we can just do this instead.
Cool.
I mean, if we were not doing this part, I would be sold on this line because I think it does read better. But because we need to make this path anyway,
yeah,
you know, I think I'm happier with the thing we had before.
Yeah, I feel you. Makes sense.
And
cool.
What else? It seems like I changed something on this line. Why did I what? Oh, I change this part, so I'll revert this change.
Okay. Yeah, you need to keep undoing.
Okay.
Cool.
So let's see what we have here. We have the stub name, which we are using to construct the URL, and this line that checks the checksum. And we have the stub path that we are using to write the file, but also to check the checksum. And then we have here the checksums, and we are checking that the thing is in there. Okay, so I think that now we need to tackle the next part, which we left off yesterday. That is, do we need to download? Oh, yeah, or okay, that's a better name.
And then we can do like if is not downloaded, then we should do this bit, I guess.
I think that this line will fail if the stub path is not there, if we haven't downloaded.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it could throw, right?
Yeah.
So we might need to, try catch around that, or yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a parameter that you can pass to it, which will, sort of silently return undefined or something like that.
Yeah, I guess what we want to do here is check. Do we have a stub file?
Oh yeah, I think there's probably just like fs does like exists or something like that.
Yeah, it does. This function does exist, but it's deprecated.
Okay. Maybe file exists. It's going to be something like that.
No, actually, the deprecated exists because they say that you should just try to act on the file. But in this specific case, we are sure that there will be no race conditions because you're going to be running this. I don't know. We actually don't know when we are going to run this. We don't know if we want to do this at install time or at run time. So we don't know exactly when we are doing this.
I guess we can maybe just have like a try read file function.
But you know what's the funny thing? fs exists is deprecated, but exists sync
is not.
It's not. And also, just by trying this out, I noticed that there was something like path exists, which is not deprecated either.
How come I don't get autocomplete? That's unfair. I'm disadvantaged here. Okay. I guess I have to look up the docs.
Okay. You go do that, and I will think out loud about the scenarios. We can either have... We have, I think, 4 scenarios. Scenario number 1. The stub isn't there. In scenario number 2, the stub is there. Scenario number 1a, checksums text isn't there. And scenario 1b, the stubs is there. And then similarly for 2a and 2b. So it seems like we have 4 scenarios. Felipe is saying that path exists is part of fs extra and is a sync. Okay, that is good, but it seems like it would check for a directory as well. So, not exactly what we need. But in any case, I want to think at a high level what we want to do. Because we have the checksums file, which will only be available to us in the npm package.
Yeah.
We also have downloaded manually this file over here, just so we could have it for testing. But if you just...
Why wouldn't the checksums text be there?
We are not checking it into version control.
Okay.
And so in a development environment, I don't think it makes sense to have it because you may be developing maybe the stub itself, and at that point you want to overwrite the stub.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to propose the following.
Yeah.
If the stub is not there and the checksums txt isn't there, it means you are in development. So what we're going to do is download the stub.
That's very kind of you.
And we download the stub and don't check the checksum. That is just for development. When you go to GitHub and you see this package you like, you git clone and then you npm install and everything will just work.
Yeah, makes sense.
But if the stub is not there, but checksums txt is there, you install from npm, download the stub, and check the checksum. Next, if the stub is there but the checksum isn't, then it doesn't matter, just don't do anything. Because the stub is there and I don't have anything to check against, so don't do anything.
Okay.
You're probably in development anyway, right? If the checksum txt isn't there, you're probably in development.
Makes sense.
And if the stub is there and the checksums is there, I don't know exactly in which scenario we are, but you probably installed from npm. And I don't need to download the stub. I don't need to do the checksum either. Maybe I do.
Don't you need to do the check? I thought that was the point. You wanted to verify that it is the one that we expect.
Yeah, okay, so check the checksum. And then we have two scenarios. If it matches, then don't do anything. And if it doesn't match, then delete the stub and then download and check the checksum.
Or just overwrite it.
Or that, yeah. But conceptually what we want is to replace the stub.
Yeah.
Download the stub, replacing whatever is there, and check the checksum. Okay, so the logic here is, if you are in development, you will get the stub for free, but we will not overwrite whatever stub you have, because if you are developing the stub itself, then your stub will not match whatever checksum we have, so it's better for us to not do anything. But in essence, if the checksums file is there, we will guarantee that whatever stub you end up having is the stub from GitHub that is, it is the one that we produced. Okay, so Felipe is saying on the chat, but you only verify once when installing, not every time you run caxa. So if the stub is there and the checksum is there, it's because npm install was run, so you already checked, and you don't need to check again. Okay, the problem here is, Felipe, that we are not sure when we are going to run this script. That's why it's called David and it's a standalone script. There are two options. We could run this right when you npm install as part of a post install script of sorts. And then it would download once and that would be the end of the story. But alternatively, last week, people asked for us to download this stub when you're running caxa. And the reason was that they don't like post install scripts and it was too much magic and whatever. So we could run this script as part of running caxa itself, and then you would download the stub when you're actually running the first time. And then later we would not re-download it, probably. So we don't know exactly when we are going to run this. I am personally leaning towards a post install script because I feel like it makes sense. I mean, you're installing the package, part of it is coming from npm, other part of it is coming from GitHub, but you're installing the whole thing. But I have never worked with post install scripts, so I don't know if that's gonna work. I think it should. But...
Yeah, I'm looking into it now. I've also never used post install, but yeah. Oh, there's post compress, pre compress. Interesting.
So I guess the way we want to implement this is, well, first of all, there is something that I don't like about this, how we have this async block, and that's necessary because we want to do await in several places, but part of the program is inside and part of the program is outside the async block. So I'll wrap the whole program except for the requires into the async block. That is an aesthetic thing, but I wanted to do it. Okay, and Felipe is saying, if this is done via post install 2b, so 2b is checksums txt is there and the stub is there. 2b will be don't do anything, but if it's done when executing, then 2b will have to check every time you run the app. Correct, yes, exactly. Yeah, I want to try to do the post install.
I mean, it looks like this, which, I mean, seems pretty, it's literally just a script. So, I don't know, it doesn't seem like there's anything special about it. Seems like it would work.
It seems like it would, and I would like to give this a try. So, scenario 2b should never happen. The stub should, actually scenario 2 should never happen.
Right. Yeah.
So the stub, let's consider that the stub is never there.
Wait, it should happen if you're doing this in development mode, right?
I guess that's a question. Does the post install script run when you npm install? Let's figure this out.
Well, it's not going to run on git clone.
Well, it's not going to run on git clone, but is it going to run on npm install locally? So let's try this out. We are going to put this here. And do I have to give it a file, or could I just say something like echo I ran?
Yeah, I reckon you could do that. Actually, I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, so I am running npm install, and it says that I ran.
Okay. Cool.
And in development, I may have this stub, but I would not feel bad if during development, every time you run npm install, your stub is overwritten.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're developing the stub itself, then all you have to do is just recompile. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Makes sense.
Yeah, so we'll try the post install. And also, can we just say, like David?
Yeah, presumably. We may as well call it post install, though. As much as I like to have my name plastered across all repositories when possible.
Okay, we renamed the script to post install. And I don't think it could make sense for us to drop this into the source directory, but I feel like leaving it here makes more sense.
Yeah,
okay.
As long as there's not loads of files in this at the root. For now, it seems manageable.
Yeah, so now we can npm install, and it should print like true or false or whatever. It should fail. Command not found. Okay, so maybe we should call like this. Okay, so yeah, so the script exploded for reasons, because we are doing all sorts of temporary stuff here, but it is running.
Yeah, I mean, I literally took that straight from like the npm docs. So,
maybe it needs to be a relative path,
or inside a
permission denied, and that is because the script is not
what about moving it inside?
Executable.
Oh, right.
So we could do this to the script and then also add here an executable shebang. So USR being env node. But To be honest, I think I prefer to have node here.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Okay. So let's not do all this. Okay, so now we have a post install in place, and we have a post install script. And now that we know we want to run this in post install, I will not consider scenario 2 all that much. Anyway, let's think about this. So we are building the stub parts. The download path seems correct. And then we get to this part. I guess I can remove this now. And then we need to just start downloading because we said that we are going to overwrite whatever is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the stub path is fine, and then we don't need to check for the existence of this, but we need to download it. Where is the line that downloads the thing?
It's at the end because
okay.
Not downloaded.
Okay, but now we are saying that we are always going to download it.
Oh, okay.
So we are always going to download this stub path, put it at the download path, which is... Oh, no, it's coming from the download path, and we are putting it on the stub path. And then we only need... We need to check if the checksums file is there. And only then we'll calculate the hash of this guy. So how about we do a try catch block?
Yeah.
And we move all this to that block. Or rather, I think I would like to have just the read file portion in the try catch.
Yeah, I would just create a function which is like, safely read file or like try read file, which just return undefined if it matches a specific error, which is can't find it. Wait, no. Wait, what is it that you're catching? What's your intention?
The intention is just to read the file, and if the file is there, then I will do this. The thing that I actually want to test for is this. So do I have a checksum file? Only then I will compute this, and I will do that, and then I will error if necessary and whatever. Okay, but Felipe is saying on the chat, quick comment on the stub hash. You don't need to string... Oh, okay. Fun stuff. You can say hex here and save a line. Thanks, Felipe.
Nice.
So this part we know that will succeed because we just downloaded. So that's fine. And okay, you want to extract a function. I want to do it without a function. So let's write both and compare.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what I do.
Oh, so, okay, our versions are done, and the try read file depends on exist sync.
Yeah.
I didn't want to use exist sync because then you could have a race condition in which you check that the file exists, and right before you're going to run this line, the file is deleted. It's never going to happen. Not in a million years. But in the documentation and everywhere, people say that you should just try to read the file. If it succeeds, then the file was there. If it fails, the file wasn't there.
Yeah, you could write it a different way.
And there is a way for us to check that the error is specifically file not found. But I don't remember how to do that.
Yeah.
So I'll go to the docs real quick for file system. And the name of the error is entity not found. Oh, come on.
So I would do something like that.
Oh, it's E no ent. Isn't that the name of the error? Okay. It is E no ent. It's error no entity, but the 70s way. So we can check for that. So what we can do here is catch the error, and if the error code is different from, then throw the error. Otherwise, we are going to swallow the error.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. You're using name and I'm using code.
Oh, I probably should be using code.
I'm not sure. I mean, the documentation I'm referring to is right here, but I just dropped into a random place.
I would have guessed, but maybe it would just be like I don't know what type of, yeah. Yeah, it's code. I'm pretty sure it's code. I'm pretty sure that code is like non-standard. I don't know what kind of error, like if they've extended the error. Like, I'd be curious what the name of the error is.
Doesn't seem like it is a special kind of error.
But like to have other properties on an error in JavaScript, you have to like, or you can just sort of create the error and then patch it, just like add properties to it.
Yeah.
Dynamically, but by default, it doesn't come with a code.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so.
As far as I know.
I mean, we can always do it like this. We can say new error and then command click on the thing, which will take us to the definition. And you're right. There is only name, message, and stack. There is no code.
Mm-hmm.
But we can also do something real quick here on the command line, which is to const fs equals require fs, and then fs read file sync of David, which doesn't exist, and it will give us a code of that.
Yeah, there you go. So it's just attaching those.
Yes, and there is also the syscall, which is non-standard.
Yeah.
Okay, so
cool.
What we have is more or less the same thing. We are just checking whether the read file succeeds, and we throw the error. The only difference is that you're extracting into a function and I'm not.
Yeah, because we've got to do it twice, right? I know, like, rule of three, but... So...
What's the second time?
Don't we have to do it for... so we do it for the checksum. Oh, we're not checking the stub anymore, right?
I mean, we are reading the stub, but we must assume that write file has succeeded and there will not be a race condition between these two lines.
Okay.
I think it would be safe to assume that. And I really don't like the way that all these reads. I don't like the way these reads. I don't like the way that this reads. I really would rather use exist sync.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do that. If now we'll need a checksums path, which will be this. And then we can check if the checksums path exists sync. And I guess they did not bother deprecating exists sync because using synchronous APIs is already a smell anyway, so they probably let's not bother deprecating that one.
Or maybe they just thought there would be less race conditions because it's a synchronous API. Maybe you can get race conditions like quite easily with exists.
Fair.
Like, yeah.
So if the checksums path exists, then we will do this part to read it, and we'll do this part to verify it.
Yeah. I hate having a let outside of a try catch and then assigning to it. Or
Yeah.
don't hate it, but it's annoying.
Yeah, I don't like it. So stub path is that, and then we write to that stub path, and then we have the checksum path, and then if it exists, we read it, and we don't need to say different from undefined. It will be defined. And then the stub hash is that, and is downloaded.
I wonder if we should download the checksum if it doesn't exist to verify it. Meh.
No.
Okay.
The problem with downloading the checksums is that it doesn't add any trust to the process, I don't think. But let's think this through. Because the purpose of the checksums is not necessarily to check that the download succeeded. I think that the download will succeed just every time. We don't care about that. The problem is whether someone is attacking you, and there is a man-in-the-middle attack between you and GitHub. So we are shipping the checksums along with the npm package, and we'll check against that. And that checksums file has been created by the GitHub Actions. So if you trust Microsoft to run GitHub Actions correctly, then you trust the stub that came out the other way, and your checksums file is what bridges these two parts.
Okay, yeah, I buy that.
Okay, and it's also simpler not to download these checksums. So if the checksums path exists, then we do all this. And I guess what we need to do at this point is just say, if the checksums don't match, then let's do the following. Let's console error something, and we will process exit with 1. Not exist, but exit.
Well, don't we have to delete it as well?
We could.
Yeah.
But it could be nice to have that file there, because maybe you are under attack and you would like to look at the stub and see what the attacker is trying to do with the stub, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
So, checksum verification failed. And then what about we just print this line?
Sure.
So checksum line or whatever.
Yeah. Seems good.
And then we put this here and change this. I will also put this in quotes so we know when it starts and ends. I think that's our script.
All right. I'll delete this stuff then.
All right.
I guess.
Well, we are still sort of developing the thing, so I guess this comment stays like it is.
Yeah.
But we can remove some of these parts and have just one neat block of code. Yeah, I think this is good. So now we can npm install, and I can remove my stub file. Oh, I don't have one anymore. So I can npm install and expect a stub file to appear and no errors to be reported. An error was reported. Illegal operation on a directory, open. Oh, because I ended up with a directory here in a previous run. Okay, second try. Okay, I do have a stub file here, and no errors were reported. We are already compiling the TypeScript part of the code base, so which is part of our prepare script. So we do have a post install script that does what we want.
Nice.
Now let's commit this. So what I changed here was just to add a post install line. And then the script changed a whole lot, but I'm not going to look into that. Okay. What do we want to do next?
Good question. What's on the cards?
I think that what we have to do next is to actually start using this stub, because I have not touched the JavaScript part of the code base to actually use this stub anywhere. So the JavaScript part of the code base is all broken.
Oh, okay. That seems like a good place to start.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I can close all this. And we can start looking at... Oh, you know something we can try real quick? We can try the... we know that we are in Darwin 64. So what if we change this E to a D and run npm install? That should report an error.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, we should probably verify that it does
Yeah,
fail,
so checksum verification failed. I don't expect anyone to ever see this error message, ever.
Yeah,
but here we are.
So unlikely.
So
better change it back.
Now, if we change it back, the expectation is that it will overwrite the stub and not report an error. Yeah.
Cool.
And similarly, if I don't have a checksums file, it will overwrite and not report an error.
Yeah, well, we're not really sure if it overwrote it.
I can do it like this. So I can copy the stub to stub2, run npm install, and I expect this to be overwritten, but I don't expect any changes between stub and stub2.
Mm-hmm. Don't know how you would diff them. Well, you just equals, I guess.
Yeah, I can do it like this, and there is no output, which means that they are the same file.
Oh, what did you run to diff them? Oh, diff. Well, that makes sense. That's a good way of doing it. Sorry, it's clipped on the bottom of my screen, so I couldn't see that command. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I can change the stub file. It's a binary, but I can just pretend that it's a file, and I can say like David and close it, and then diff will report that they are binary, but they are different.
Okay. Nice.
Okay, so our stub is all good. This is not the one I changed. The stub is still the same we downloaded. And we can start writing the JavaScript to actually use this stub. So I think that there is some work to do in both the JavaScript and the Go part. We already talked about how we changed the separator, and we need to change that in the Go part. So do you want to write some TypeScript, or do you want to write some Go?
I'd like to write both, to be honest.
How do you want to start?
Well, let's start with the tasks, and then we can see whichever. If you can start with either.
I think we can start with either.
Okay, let's start with Go.
Okay. So the first thing I want to do is to do a similar process in which I will copy the stub, and I will run npm run build stub, which is a script we wrote together last week that calls the Go compiler and compiles this stub. But now we have the version we downloaded from GitHub and the version I just compiled on my machine, and I expect them to probably be different. If only because the separator is not there. No, the build stub action does put the separator there. So yeah, they are different binaries. So the compilation of Go is working on my machine, and The setup was really easy, actually. We just said brew install go.
Oh,
That
nice.
was enough. So now let's look at the stub and try to remember what's going on here. So I think that the only thing that changes from the stub's perspective is the separator. Let's look at what's happening here. We are trying to look at our own name as a binary, and then we are trying to read ourselves as a file, because the stub will read itself as a file and then look for the separator and then find your project right below the separator. And then there is the separator here of the footer. So
the os.executable, what is that? It checks if it's
it returns the name of the executable itself.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, what is it called in Node.js? I think it's __ file name.
Right, like dir name, but for like the file name, or yeah, the executable. Okay, cool.
So there is also a footer in the end of your cache executable. It's a JSON blob that gives you information you'll need, like what is the command that you want to run, which typically is node, but that's the footer there. But we are not interested in the footer. We are interested in the part where we look for the separator.
Yeah.
So that's what separates the stub, which is our Go program, from your project, the tarball that is your project. And the separator now is caxa, caxa, caxa. So it's that. And there is still a new line at the end.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Makes sense.
So I think that is all we are going to need.
That's it. Okay, cool.
So we can now run build stub again. And we have compiled a new stub, which looks for a new separator. And you know, there is this interesting problem that we talked about in the stream a couple of times, including yesterday, that is the string caxa, caxa, caxa must not appear in the binary. It must appear only as a separator in the end. So I'm going to look for the string caxa, 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 and it only appears at the end. It does appear in the middle of the program in a few places, but it never appears as caxa, caxa, caxa. Only at the end as the separator. Oh, and look at that. That is super interesting. The binary includes all these paths, which could have sensitive information. What if my machine has a special FBI name? That's interesting.
Does it have your local...
No, I don't think it has my name anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, it does have my name. Look at that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay. That's something.
Well. Okay.
What appears in this location here? What appears in the GitHub Actions version? I guess it will just show the GitHub Actions path.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Could you just remind me the structure of the binary file? So there's the header, which is the Go file. It's probably in the README.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I just remembered something. We don't want to have the checksums in the Git Ignore because we want to include it in the npm package, and I think that npm looks at your Git Ignore. Okay, with that out of the way, I do think I have some ASCII art here of the file structure. How it works should be around here. Yes, not an ASCII art really, but we need to update this as well, so it's good that we are here. So we are going to change everywhere we find this string in the project. We should, and it's only in the README, excellent, we should rename it to caxa, caxa, caxa.
Makes sense.
So, yeah,
what was the reason for changing it again?
We didn't want a special character because we wanted the script that builds the thing to not have to quote the thing. So we didn't want any special characters here.
Oh, yeah, that would be annoying, yeah.
Yeah, we tested some things in Windows, and we wanted to make sure that this would work if you had just Go installed in Windows and you're using PowerShell or CMD. You don't have Windows Subsystem for Linux installed, and you still want to develop in cache. And by the way, this morning I was on my Windows machine and I gave this a try, and this does work, which makes sense because we are using CrossEnv, which works on Windows, and we are using SHX specifically because it works on Windows. So this works on Windows just fine. And because we don't have the special characters anymore, this works.
Nice.
So yeah, the structure of the binary produced by caxa is it starts with the stub, which is our Go program. Then there is the caxa separator. And then there is a tarball of your project. And then there is the JSON footer.
Cool. Makes sense. Yep.
Okay, so let's create a commit with this. The checksum txt, this fix, which I guess makes sense, and then this fix as well. And now, let's write some TypeScript.
All right.
What have we here?
What's exactly is that? Just executes anything from the command line. Is that a package?
It is a package. It allows you to run commands on the command line.
Makes sense.
So the first thing that changed, the most important one, is the location of this stub. So let's try to find where we look at this stub. It will be somewhere in here and exactly on this line. So here we don't want to go into the stubs directory. We just want to go to stub. That's the name of this stub. It's called stub. It lives in the root of the project. So I guess we need to go one directory up because our script lives in source or in lib when it's compiled.
Okay.
So we go one directory up and we find the stub.
Okay.
And then we are
What's going on here? You're casting this. Okay.
So we don't need any of these anymore. What this whole thing was doing was previously we had a directory called stubs with the 3 stubs for the 3 platforms we supported back then.
Got it.
But now we have a stub that is always called stub. So we can just remove all this.
Nice. That's much more readable as well.
Yeah. And that's why I pushed this idea of having the stub in a fixed location. So we could do this refactoring right here.
Oh, deleting code's the best.
Yep.
Cool.
So now it's looking at the right stub, but do we need to change something else? Maybe not. Maybe not. I think that this may be all we need to change. So how about we just try to run the tests? Oh, okay. I cannot just run the tests because I wanted to make the build work on GitHub. So I put these dummy tests here instead. But maybe it's time for us to bring the real tests back. Okay. And this is just a bunch of example projects that I have, and I try to really compile all of them. So maybe you can run the tests and see what blows up. Something will. I'm pretty sure something will blow up.
Yeah.
And one thing to know about these tests is that it really is taking a bunch of example projects, including some example projects that have native dependencies, and actually installing and compiling and packaging all the things. So it is really slow. In GitHub Actions, it's particularly slow, so I had to put a timeout of, is it, half an hour? Something like that?
Yeah, almost as slow as Jest itself.
Yeah.
But where are you getting the projects from?
Oh, I have it right here in the examples folder.
Sure, I've seen that.
So
Got it.
yeah.
Okay.
I have some simple projects that are like to test things like command line parameters. This is a very simple project. But then I have real world projects like a real web application and a real command line tool that uses native modules.
Yeah, and you literally have to npm install everything.
Yep.
So yeah, you've got sharp here. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So Felipe is saying quick comment on the stub hash. Oh, I think I read that already. Oh,
okay.
yeah, I read that already. Okay. So failed to find archive. Did you append the separator when building the stub? No such file or directory. Okay, that's weird. The weirdest thing is that 2 of the tests passed and 2 of them failed.
Okay, which line failed? 159? Well, the first one was 64. What is that doing?
Oh, okay, so it just could not find the binary, I think.
Wait, when it's writing, the file is on line 64. So why would it fail when it's writing? Am I looking at the wrong line?
I don't know. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to create a commit with the changes we made. And now we are going to start running caxa by hand to figure out what's going on here. But Felipe may have an answer to us. Oh no, he's talking about the Git Ignore. Regarding Git Ignore, you can add checksums txt there, but it's better to have a files part of your package JSON for npm to include only what you need. That way you don't include the examples folder. True.
That is a good
could
point.
just select the files that we actually want to ship, but I actually want to ship the examples folder because there's nothing too heavy in here. It's actually just like a couple K of code. But I find it nice when I am using a module and I can go to my node modules folder and I can go there and just look at the source. So that's why I'm also shipping the source directory along with the package. And I can look at some examples. I can look at the README. I find it useful to just have everything in there. So I like to just come here and go to TypeScript and maybe read the README, for instance. And similarly, if it had examples in here, that would be nice as well.
Yeah, I've definitely used that before.
Okay. So yeah, I was saying that we were going to use caxa by hand. So let's go into the examples folder. No, we actually don't need to do that. We can just say npx, and then we can say ts node, which is a package we have here in dev dependencies. So ts node. That guy allows us to run a TypeScript file as if it was just a JavaScript file. So we don't need to necessarily precompile the TypeScript, which is useful. So now we are going to run source index, or actually we can just say source, and we can say something like help, and that proves that we can run caxa. So here is the help for caxa. Now, let's grab one example from here, so maybe this one. And then it goes into the examples directory and creates these binaries with some embedded arguments and produces echo command line parameters. So we should be able to just run that. And it does produce a binary here. So that much is working. And can we run echo command line parameters? We can.
Nice.
And some other params. So caxa is working. The problem is the test.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't remember which line failed now. Do you know which one it was?
I guess it was 64 or something.
It said 64, but it didn't. Oh, okay.
It seems like this output wasn't there.
Okay, output. Got it.
And it really wasn't there. I checked on the command line. I said ls something. It really was not there. Was the directory there?
Did you use output when you just tested?
I used output, but I sent the output to the current directory. Which is different. In the tests, we generate a temporary directory for the tests.
Yeah.
So you know the directory exists. Oh no, a different name exists in there. So that's weird. Let's take a quick look at this test to really understand what's going on here. So we are setting a timeout because the tests are slow. We are generating a temporary directory for the binaries to live in. And we are taking the temporary directory of the machine, caxa tests, and then we are producing a random string, 10 characters.
Cool.
So before all the tests, I am removing the caxa temporary directory. That's not the tests directory. That's the directory where you will produce the stubs, where you unpack the stub will unpack your project there. That's what this directory is.
Got it.
And I also remove the tests directory, and then I make sure that the tests directory exists. So I'm just cleaning the tests directory.
Cool.
Then this first test, I am going to only run this one for now because I want the test to run relatively quickly. So then the output is the output we are going to pass to caxa. It is in the tests directory with this name. And then the app directory is
That's interesting. You have to sort of define the output name based on the platform.
Yeah, we need the .exe at the end. I'm not 100% sure that we actually need this, but I'm sure that it's a good thing to have .exe at the end of a Windows executable.
Okay.
And then the app directory is the place where we will unpack. So here is the directory where we will unpack all our binaries, all our projects. But this is the place where we are unpacking this particular one. So you can see that it starts with this part, which is the same. So maybe we could have a variable for this, the same way we have a tests directory. We could have a apps directory.
Yeah. Yeah, is that a good name? It's probably a good name, yeah.
And then we would say path join of apps directory and that is my app directory. And
that makes sense.
I'm pretty sure that we have other instances of this, so I'll just go to app directory everywhere else. So temp to your caxa becomes app directory, and then temp to your caxa becomes app directory, and that's it.
Cool.
So now we call ts node with source directory that, command that, and then some embedded arguments, and then the output. So this is exactly what we ran on the command line just now.
Do you want to try changing the output directory on the command line? See if it does what you expect?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll run this again so we can get a hold of that temporary directory. And now it will only run this one, so I expect it to be relatively
it's a small.
quick.
Is it going to re-download anything? Stubs is already there, right? Is check? Oh, you got rid of checksums. If you'd kept checksums, it would have run faster, even, right?
I don't think it will try to download the stub because we are not running npm on.
Yeah.
We are not running npm install on caxa. We could run npm install on this directory, but we sort of do that under the hood on a different place, but it doesn't affect what we are doing now, I don't think. So we are running into the issue, and I know where this error comes from, by the way. This comes from the stub.
I guess maybe this strings.repeat, we got the arguments the wrong way around. Is that possible?
Oh, no. I think there is an issue with... No, that could not be it. Maybe there is an issue here because we are copying the file to the output and then we are appending the tarball to the output. That is okay.
Could we stop the test like after it's written the output files and inspect the output files?
You mean at this point?
Yeah, after, line 28.
Bumped into the microphone. You mean stop it right here? Yeah, how about we just return?
Sure.
But maybe we also console log the output.
Makes sense. The command with the caxa on line 33. What is that? What is caxa? Is the location of caxa?
Caxa is a placeholder for the directory where your project will be expanded, where it will be decompressed.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. That's the cache. That's the app directory in this case.
Yes. So this is our output. Does it exist? It does. Can we run it? No such file or directory. Is it a file? Yes. What is the permission for this file? It's executable. Oh, I put a dot on the name of the thing, so that's why it didn't work. So I can run this. So this does work.
Okay. And that was the output, right? But this error is happening at runtime, right? Like in the Go file?
It is. No. Yes, it is happening in the Go file, judging by the error message. So it means that this is finding the file to run.
Yeah. It's not that the output string is wrong.
Oh, so here is something.
What's it looking for that it doesn't find?
I think I have a clue. So this is the directory in which the tests are putting your executables. But there is also a directory with this name right here that has your actual projects. So we can see our index.js file in there. So this is the place where we are actually putting our project to run. So we could remove this directory, and we should be able to run that executable. So the directory no longer exists. No such file or directory. But when we run the executable again, it should recreate that directory. And now we can reproduce the error.
Not sure I follow. What directory was does it depend on, and should it recreate?
So there are two directories that are important here. The first is the directory in which the tests put our compiled binary. And that's this directory called caxa tests. In fact, to not confuse ourselves, I'm going to move this binary here. So now we only have to worry about one directory. We have a binary here, and we should be able to run this binary, right? We should be able to run echo command line parameters. But it's failing. Now let's look at where remember, this binary here is a self-extracting binary. Self-extracting executable. It will extract the project somewhere. It will extract your actual project, the echo command line parameters, which is our project that we are compiling. It will extract this somewhere. And it will extract this into this directory, or at least it should extract it into this directory.
Yeah. And when we run it, it doesn't extract it there?
It does not extract it there.
Okay.
But it's not extracting it there because it fails before, right? The failure is happening before, I think. Let's go into the Go code.
Yeah.
And I think I know what it is. It's the problem is the separator. The separator is no longer new line, caxa, new line. It's just caxa, new line.
Yeah. Simple error. Makes sense. Anyway.
I wonder if we should change this.
What's that?
I wonder if the separator should have any new lines at all. Or maybe it could have a new line in the beginning, and I can change the compilation to include this new line. Kind of like the new line here, actually. Makes things clearer.
Yeah.
So you know what? What I'm going to do is change the package.json so that when we are producing the stub, we are producing the new line as well. And similarly, I will change the GitHub actions. So everywhere where we say echo caxa, I will look for an echo caxa dash. I think, yeah.
Is there a way of doing it in one echo command?
In a cross-platform way, I am not sure. I don't know how that would look like. But we can do it this way.
Yeah, is that going to work?
I think it's kind of silly, but I think it does work.
Okay. I would have thought that maybe it would try and echo the angled bracket.
The bracket?
The arrow.
This?
Yeah, might try to.
I don't think it will.
Yeah,
probably I think that this is parsed by your terminal before echo even has a chance of executing.
Okay, makes sense.
I think so.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But let's first test this package.json here. Let's see if this produces the correct output. So let's tail the stub as it is, and it does not have a new line. And now let's npm run build stub, and then tail again, and it does have a new line. Oh, actually it has a bunch of things here.
Wait, is it appending? It's appending to the same stub?
Nah, that's weird. Oh, maybe Go is being so fast because Go is looking at the timestamps of the files and determining that it doesn't even need to run. So I guess we should remove this stub and then do that.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense.
So now we have a new line and then caxa, 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 and then another new line.
Yeah. Go is probably doing a checksum of the file.
I don't think it is.
It.
No, I don't think it's doing a checksum. I think it's as naive as make. I think it just looks at the timestamps of the files.
Mm.
And if the source is newer than the output, then it compiles.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
I think that's...
Yeah, because otherwise you have to ship a checksum in the binary, right? Like Go would have to.
Yes. It could do a checksum of the sources and embed that in the binary.
Mm. We could run a checksum of the file and then search the... Anyway, we've got other things to do.
So let's make sure that we get this replacement right, and then I think we'll wrap it up. So this is the line that I want to add. And let's look for caxa, caxa, caxa. And we have two other occurrences. So this should not be the same. It should be that. And then let's look for caxa, caxa, caxa. That. And now, let's look at everything we changed. So I'll delete this file. Here in the package.json, we changed the compilation to include the new line, but also to remove the stub beforehand. So it always produces a new stub. Then, and I like that change, here in the workflows, we changed things to add an echo without caxa, 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 so it produces a new line. And that looks correct. This looks correct. And this looks correct as well. So I'm happy with all of these changes.
Do the test pass.
And then we have some changes here. And I don't like this change, but I seem to only have refactored the name out. And that much I like. So I'm going to commit this.
Yeah, that was a good change.
And now I can put the only back to make things faster. But I expect this test to pass now.
Yeah, me too.
And it passes. So now I will remove the only, and I will run the whole test suite. And I expect the whole test suite to pass, and we'll wrap this up with a happy note.
Yeah, we'll finish on a bang.
Because I think that with that, we sort of did everything we needed to have ARM support.
Nice. It's pretty exciting.
It is. So do you want to maybe release this so we test the whole, because there is a whole part of the GitHub Actions that is actually putting a package in NPM, and we could test that.
Yeah, so it will release. Well, hopefully it succeeds, the build.
Yes.
And then it'll be a case of installing and running it in a new directory, I guess. That would be the full end-to-end test.
Yeah, we can literally copy... Oh, all the tests passed. That's exciting. So we could literally just copy one of these examples, probably the more complex ones, into a separate folder, pretend that we are just developing on that project, and then do it.
Don't you have a project which is using caxa? You could just upgrade in one of your projects.
Yeah, that also works. So all the tests are passing, and I would like to push a new version of the package with this change, except that I would like to make it a beta. So I don't know how to do that. Pre-major, probably? I think that is what I need. So I can use npm version pre-major. Let's see what that produces. So it produces 2.0.0, which is the next version, -0, which I think is considered a beta.
Yeah, normally I see it with like beta, attached to the end of the string. So can you provide a like string to pre-major?
Oh, here is the pre-ID.
Oh, okay. So I guess you just do beta? I don't know.
So let's see, what does the pre-ID look like? Default empty.
Oh, is it pre-release that you need?
The pre-release identifier. When I say pre-major, I mean pre-release. So I think that the combination of pre-major with pre-ID will do what I want. So
isn't pre-release a separate command?
No, it's an argument to npm version. It's npm version pre. Now I'm second guessing myself.
Yeah.
So maybe it's. Okay. Yeah, I guess it's pre-release and then the release ID.
Yeah, it looks likely. Yeah, because it looks like it's an argument to pre-release, right?
So Felipe is saying, I think it will use your tags. So if you have a beta tag, it might use that. Yeah, but I would like to use npm version, the command, to actually produce this tag. So I guess what I am going to do is just say pre-release and then pre-ID of beta.
All right, that sounds reasonable.
And that produced 2.0.0 beta 0. I'm happy with this name. I like this name. So I can git push origin that name.
I wonder what pre-major does then.
Pre-major bumped from 1.0 to 2.0. So with that, I think we'll wrap it up. Tomorrow, I will get back here and figure what GitHub did with the GitHub Actions and the npm release. But because we put the beta here, I don't think we will impact any actual user of caxa. If you npm install, I don't think you will get this version unless you npm install -- pre. But I think that this will have the new stubs in the new place. It will run the post install and everything, and that's what we are going to do tomorrow. And with that, we can wrap it up, right?
That's it. Thank you very much, Leandro.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, and thank you, Felipe, and everyone else who was around. Do you want to join us tomorrow?
I will let you know tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll see if we have David again. Do you want to plug your personal projects or your company this time?
No, all good.
Okay.
All good.
Okay, so thank you all for coming. You can support me on Patreon and PayPal, and you can subscribe to the channel, which is already a form of support. And yeah, I see you all tomorrow to see what this push, we'll see what this push will do.
That's it. Cliffhanger.
All right. See you all later. Thank you. Bye.